VODCAST and we are Crypto. My name is Jasmine Rasalin.
Hello guys, I'm Arthur Yanson. I am your speaker for today.
Good day everyone, I am Psychol Maria Rochelle S.
The historical antecedents of the social considerations that have changed the course of science and technology are a fascinating topic. Here we will discuss some examples of these changes and how they affected the development of science and technology. So let's start in Stone Age. In the Stone Age, humans were very much in tune with the environment. They look for ways to harness its power and used it to their advantage, which is why they invented tools and weapons from stone. The earliest traces of human society can be found in Africa, which was home to some of the earliest known hominid species, including Homo erectus. It is believed that these early humans lived in small groups and hunted animals for food. This lifestyle changed when humans began to settle down into villages and built houses with mud bricks or stone structures. The second thing to be considered is what exactly happened during the Stone Age. This period, humans were not very advanced technologically, and yet they were able to create some of the most amazing things, which are still awe-inspiring even today. One such example is Stonehenge, a structure made of large stones that form a circle around an area where there are no trees or other natural formations, like hills, etc. The next is the Bronze Age. The Bronze Age began around 3500 BCE in Anatolia, modern-day Turkey, which was a crossroads for trade in Europe and Asia at the time. This allowed people to exchange ideas and technology more easily than in previous periods. The Bronze Age is a historical period characterized by the use of bronze and copper. It is a transitional period between the Stone Age and Iron Age, when metalworking was first introduced to humans. The Bronze Age is part of the three-age system, which also includes the Neolithic and the Iron Age. The use of bronze spread throughout Europe and Asia over time, but it wasn't until roughly 2500 BCE that tin was added to make bronze and stronger and more durable than pure copper. During this period, humans began to develop more complex tools and weapons made from bronze, an alloy of copper and tin. People also began to settle in cities instead of moving from place to place as nomads. This allowed them to build civilizations and develop new modes of government. Many people believe that the invention of bronze was a turning point in human history because it led to increased trade between cultures which allowed people to share ideas across borders. In fact, many historians believe that it was during this time that the first civilization emerged. There are many different theories about what caused the Bronze Age to begin in different places around the world at the different times. Some historians believe that these differences are due to the cultural differences between groups of people who lived during this period. Others think they might have been caused by climate change or migration patterns affecting various regions differently over time. These days, we use Bronze Age as an umbrella term covering all of these different possibilities, but there are still lots more questions than answers when it comes down to figuring out what exactly happened back then. The next is the Iron Age and Middle Ages. The Iron Age and Middle Ages were periods of time that combined to make up the bulk of human history. The Iron Age lasted from around 1200 BC until 600 AD, with the Middle Ages beginning in 450 AD and ending in 1450 AD. The two periods are incredibly important to understanding how we got to where we are today. So let's take a closer look at what happened during this period. The Iron Age was characterized by advancement in technology, especially when it comes to tools, weapons, and armor. These tools allowed people to work more efficiently, which meant they could do more things in less time. They could farm more land and make more goods than ever before. The Middle Ages were a time when most people lived in small villages or towns called manors. Most peasants were poor and didn't have much power or education. While wealthy landowners had lots of land and money but little freedom because they depend on their king for protection against other lords who wanted their wealth. There were lots of wars during this period, but it wasn't all bad. There were also some advances in science, like discovering how blood circulates through veins, as well as arts like painting and architecture. The next is the Scientific Revolution. The Scientific Revolution was a period from the 16th to the 18th century where scientists began to question many beliefs that had been held for centuries. Before this time, most people believed in the power of astrology, alchemy, and other forms of magic. During this time, many scientists and philosophers began questioning these beliefs. Some people even believed that science was an attempt to combat God's natural order. These scientists began experimenting with new theories and methods of testing their hypotheses. Their work led to several scientific discoveries that changed the way people viewed the world around them. During the scientific revolutions, scientists began to look at the world in a new way. They started to see it as something that could be explained through logic and reason, rather than just accepting whatever they were told by their elders. Scientists began to think about how things work and why they work the way they did. For example, Isaac Newton thought about how gravity worked and developed the law of universal gravitation based on his observation. Newton also made advances in mathematics and physics, including inventing calculus and discovering the laws of motion. Other scientists made discoveries related to astronomy and biology, as well as other areas of science. The evolution of science is amazing, right? So can you please tell us more, Mr. Saikon?
Industrial Revolution. In modern history, the process of change from an agrarian and handicraft economy to one dominated by industry and machine industry. This technological change introduced novel ways of worrying and living and fundamentally transformed society. Question: did the Industrial Revolution has a large effect to the human civilization? Yes, because it helps people easy access of working and makes their lives more easier. Next is the 18th century. How do they apply the technology in the 18th to 19th century to be fully commercialized in the education system of the British people? In this century, changes transform both the public and social lives and private family lives of the British people. Increased literacy and increasingly public life, new development and recreation, commercialization and industrialization, and also education. Next is the 20th century day. What are the new discoveries during 20th century and what do they transform? Additional theme includes intergovernmental organization and cultural homogenization through development in energizing transportation and communication, technology, poverty reduction, and world population growth, automobile airplanes, and the use of home appliances, manual, machine to automotive high-quality technology. The Gutenberg Revolution. Gutenberg was the first European to do so. His many contributions to printing includes the invention of a process for mass-producing movable type, the use of oil-based ink for printing books, adjustable molds, mechanical movable type, and the use of a wooden printing press similar to the agricultural of the period. His truly epochal invention was the combination of these elements into a practical system that allowed the mass production of printed books and was economically viable for printers and readers alike. Gutenberg's method for making type is traditionally considered to have included a type of metal alloy and a hand mold for casting type. This alloy was mixture of lead, tin, and antimony that melted at a relatively low temperature for faster and more economical casting, cast well, and created a durable type. What is the importance of oil-based ink that was invented by Gutenberg? For printing books and faster and economical casting, cast well, and created a durable type.
Science and technology in the Philippines history, Indigenous Works and Modern works. Even before the Spaniards colonialized the Philippines, various people and societies already practiced science. Some indigenous science and technology have already existed with regards to agriculture like animal raising, farming, and utilization of plants and herbs as medicine. They invented tools and built structures, studied medicine uses of plants, observed heavenly bodies to predict seasons and weather. They also developed tools for planting, hunting, cooking, and fishing, and fighting enemies during tribal conflicts. In Stone Age in the Philippines, archaeological findings indicate that around 50,000 years ago, modern men or Homo sapiens from the Asian mainland first came overland and across narrow channels to live in Palawan and Batangas. For about 40 years, they made simple tools or weapons, stone flakes, but eventually developed techniques for sewing, drilling, and polishing headstone. This very long period, considered as the Philippine Stone Age, was when the Tabun man, 67,000 BC, and the Kalaw man, 24,000 to 22,000 BCE, were supposed to have lived. The Austronesians around 5,000 2000 BC, ancestors of most presently Filipinos arrived in the island. It is still unsure as to their exact direction. Most presently Filipinos arrived in the island. It is still unsure as to their exact direction of the movement to what is today the Philippines, but southern mainland China is considered as their most possible point of origin. In the Bronze and Iron Ages in the Philippines, there is no distinct Bronze Age in the Philippines, and the copper was found to have been used for adornments such as earring, while stone remained more common for toes. As early as 3000 BC, people producing arranged material from azes to chisel, ornament to pottery, or various design. Familiar with the chisels that made to be a clang for a house. The manufactured pottery became well developed and flourished about 2,000 years until it came into competition with imported Chinese ceramics. Fermentation in food processing could have been present early than this period. Various types of alcohol were produced from coconuts, which is tuba, lambanog, balahina, and rice, pangasi. This method was later adapted to sugarcane, basi, when Arab traders probably brought the crop to Mindanao and then spread northwards. On the left side, in the left is the lantaka, used as a cannon in Philippines. Similarly, assuming the specific Iron Age in the Philippines is still a matter of debate. Usage and small-scale production of iron, however, is estimated to have occurred around 50,000 to 500,000 to 200 BCE, as iron manufacturing during this age engaged in this actual bronze manufacturing people during this age engaged in the actual iron extraction, smelting, and refining. Until the Spanish colonization, the beginnings of modern science and technology in the Philippines can be traced to the Spanish regime. The Spaniards established schools, hospitals, and started scientific research, and this had important consequences to the rise of the country profession. The Filipino disinterest in science could be traced to the Spanish colonial period. While the Spaniard practiced some aspect of science, example, agriculture, botany, medicine, meteorology, Filipinos rarely had the opportunity to develop a serious competence to this due to racism and ethnography, humanities, and geology were comparatively developed, yet science and technology were generally neglected. This imbalance reflected the poor state of science in the motherland itself. Toward the end of the Spanish period, 1850 to 1896, a very small group of Philippine, particularly men who are wealthy and landed, ilustrados, or exceptional and talented, were eventually engaged in advanced studies in the local schools or abroad. Access to educate training, though, was limited to the University of Santo Tomas, the oldest university in Asia. Like their colonizer, the Filipinos generally preferred humanistic ilustrados. Training over the above technical expertise, this preference to understand the human condition more than nature has continued to this day. Rizal, however, criticized this lack of interest in natural science on the part of Spanish colonial officials when he was a medical student at Said University in the 1880s. Formal education in science technology was introduced by Spaniards to specific institution. In the beginning, parish schools were open to teach religion, reading, writing, mathematics, and music. People were taught sanitation and improved methods of agriculture. Later, higher institution of learning was established among which were Colegio de Cebu, 1597, now the University of San Carlos. Colegio de Nuestra Señora de Rosario, 1611, now University of Santo Tomas. Colegio de San Juan de Letran, 1706. Ateneo Municipal de Manila, 1859. Escuela Nautica, 1820. Manila School of Agriculture, 1887. That's the school that built this was established for learning Spanish. In this institution, science subjects like astronomy, physics, chemistry, natural history, and mathematics were taught as part of the curriculum for college program being offered. In American colonization in World War II, the Americans have more influence in the development of science and technology in the Philippines compared to the Spaniards. They established the public education system, improved engineering works, and public health facilities. It is where built technology for health and for the hospital, for the engineering student. They established a modern research university, the University of the Philippines, and created more public hospitals, more than the former colonizer. Transportation and communication system were improved, though still not accessible throughout the country. The Americans did everything to Americanize the Philippines. They organized the learning of science and introduced it to the private and public schools. American organized the learning of science so they can introduce it to both public and private schools. In basic education, science education focuses on nature studies and science education until it became a single formal subject era. And of course, science is a study of natural natures. The teaching of science in higher education has also greatly improved and modernized. Publication focused on agriculture and plant industries, water resources, paramedical and general natural applied sciences. Some of the first scientific societies in the Philippines were Manila Medical Society, 1901. Philippine Island Medical Association, 1908. Philippine Scientific Society, 1923. Society for the Advancement of Research, 1928. Philippine Public Health Association, 1932. Philippine Society of Civil Engineering, 1932. The American likewise continued science development from the Spanish regime. Government, departments, bureaus, and boards were established to help the new colonialists, and among these are the Bureau of Agriculture and the Board of Health, which later became the Bureau of Health. American efforts in the beginning were geared toward the promotion of public health. In 1901, the Philippines Commission created the Bureau of Government Laboratories under the Department of Interior. This bureau was established for the study of tropical disease laboratory projects, effectively replacing the Laboratorium Municipal. Since the aftermath of World War II and independence, the Philippines has struggled to maintain and expand its science and technology capacity. Institution and possibly many physical documents of scientific and technological knowledge were turned to ashes. Many lives were destroyed, while reparation funds from Japan were meant for rebuilding. Much were focused on the basic infrastructure such as school, hospitals, and transportation system. Resources are limited in improving science. The Philippine government had explored the use of overseas development allocation for the different countries to help improving its scientific productivity and technical capability. Human resource development is the heart of this effort, focusing on technology capability, producing more engineers, scientists, technologists, doctors, and other professionals.
Hello guys, I'm Elchar, your speaker for today, and our topic is historical antecedents in which social considerations change the course of science and technology. So, here is our topic: intellectual revolution that defined the society. And in this topic, there are there are four cradles of early science: Mesoamerican, the Mayan, the Middle East, Asia, and African. So our first topic is the Mesoamerican. So Mesoamerican. Mesoamerican civilization consists of Mayan, Inca, and Aztec. The contributions of Mesoamerican are: the Aztec had established a great military force. The Chinampa of the Aztecs used small rectangular area of fertile land to grow crops on the shallow lake beds. The use of rubber is documented in the Maya ball game called Tlachli. They used cocoa beans as a currency. The Maya developed an accurate calendar, also known as the Mayan calendar. The quipus are used by the Inca for bookkeeping. The mita system was invented by the Inca. It is labor service to take for a road done bridge construction and cultivation of corn textile production. The next is the Middle East. Contribution in the Middle East. The Arab applied the Romans' principle and improved the watermill known as Noria. The Middle East is also known for their machine designed for the improvement of irrigation, industrial work, and for war. The windmill and watermill are used for crushing sugar canes, grinding grain, and pumping water. The Book of Badik al-Zaman, Ibn al-Razaz, al-Jazari describe candle and water clocks, water vessels, fountains, automata, and water racing devices. The book written by Taqi al-Din ibn Maruf al-Rashid al-Dimashqi explains steam power and the blueprint of six-piston pump. And lastly, for Asia, major contribution in Asia, traditional Chinese, medicine, acupuncture, and herbal medicine were practiced. Four great inventions in China: compass, gunpowder, papermaking, printing. And the other are alchemy, which is Taoist chemistry. And for last, African contributions from Africa. Africa is known for the production of cola nuts and coffee in Ethiopia. Cola nuts are mostly found in West Africa and is the basis of cola drink. Coffee was developed as a consumable drink that spread to Arabia and then throughout the world. Africa used plants with salicylic acid for pain, aspirin now, and for diarrhea, cowpectate. They are also highly advanced in medicine, such operating autopsy and cesarean. The technology involved experimentation and drainage, construction of polders, desalination, and irrigation. Evidence in 1978 suggests that they already mastered making steel. So that is our topic for the four cradles of early science that contributed here in our science and technology that is the Mesoamerican, Middle East, Asia, and Africa. Thank you for listening.